Once there was a king who ruled a great kingdom in the south. The kingdom was a citadel of greatness. Elephant tusks lined the entrance. A great wall fortified the vast kingdom, and armed watchmen manned guard towers littered on the kingdom's edge. The kingdom stretched out and touched the horizon, a great kingdom for an equally great king. The king was loved by his people and feared by his enemies. He conquered lands far and wide. Those who surrendered were spared, but those who resisted were destroyed. It was fitting that his capital was called Bulawayo, the place of the slaughtering. Daughters and sons of those who dared to fight him were slaughtered in front of their fathers, and their lifeless bodies thrown into the arms of their weeping mothers. The babies, still in their mothers' wombs, were ripped out and handed to their dying mothers. Stealing the future and hope of a people is the worst kind of punishment one can bestow on them, he used to say. His reputation of brutality in the face of confrontation and the extent of his mercy in full surrender spread in the lands like wildfire. Sensible kings and queens opened their gates and welcomed his armies with food and drink. For this he rewarded them by incorporating their clans into his ever-growing empire without spilling a drop of blood. He kept the kings and queens on as his chiefs. He cast his long shadow to the east over the mountains, west across the river, and north beyond the savannah. He was not married, neither did he father any living child. He lay with many women, and many women conceived and gave birth to healthy babies. But without fail, after birth, he grabbed each babe, smashed and cracked its head on a rock. The story of a son usurping his father's throne and murdering his own blood for good measure was one that was too familiar to him. In his youth, he had led a coup against his weak father to ensure that he sat on the throne earlier rather than never. His status as an illegitimate child made it certain that the most lowly servant in the royal court had a better chance of inheriting the kingdom than he did. Years of rejection and humiliation made him bitter and resentful. He murdered all his half-siblings, eliminating anyone who had claim to the crown. In his heart of hearts, he believed history would repeat itself. To him, it was better to nip any potential usurper in the bud, literally. Having an heir was overrated. His empire would be his legacy. At least this way, he made sure there was no one to plant daggers into his back. It was a lonely life. He had his mother, though. It was on her shoulders that his empire was built. Indlovukazi, the Queen Mother. He loved her more than life itself. She was a lighthouse that guided him. She kept his brutality in check, the little mercy that he showed to his enemies, and whatever love he had from his people had been planted in his heart by his mother. Like any other living thing, she died. It broke him. All the mercy and love in his heart withered and died. The beast that his mother worked so hard to bury resurrected with a vengeance and waged war onto the world. His sorrow could not be eased, and his bloodlust was unquenchable. He declared a period of mourning of 3 years. During this time, nothing was to be born or harvested. It was a time of death and grief, not new life and renewal. The people of Bulawayo were not permitted to till their fields, and any cows birthing calves were left to their own devices. Wedding ceremonies were barred. Men were not permitted to lay with their wives, and any couples found pregnant would face the wrath of the king. Those whom he suspected were not fully grieving their queen mother were impaled and their bodies displayed along the Great Wall. In his grief, he turned to the only thing he excelled in, waging war and plundering. This time he showed no mercy. Every man and boy able to hold a stick was enlisted into his armies and sent to war. He demanded the same from all the clans that had sworn allegiance to him. Mothers watched as their little boys went to war as men. Cities were burnt to the ground, and the savannah soil stained red with the blood of dead soldiers. Famine, misery, and anguish gripped the south. The people grumbled about their bloodthirsty king, but no one dared to protest his reign. After 2 seasons without a harvest, clan chiefs stopped paying tribute to him, keeping any extra grain to feed their people. This incensed the king. Tribute was a sign of respect. Withholding it was a spit in his face. He sent out a decree demanding his dues. In response, the chiefs sent a delegation to the capital in a bid to reason with the mad king. He refused to negotiate. A blood-soaked sack holding the decapitated bodies of the messengers was sent in response. This was the beginning of the end. Fearing the wrath of the scorned king, many clans carried all that they could and fled north, hoping to escape his reach. Others stayed and plotted his demise. They raised armies to deter retaliation. A wave of assassins descended on the capital, but none of them were successful. This, however, broke the king's spirit. The delusion that he was a king loved by his subjects was shattered. His empire was in shambles. He received news of the throngs of people escaping to the north. There was nothing he could do about it. They were beyond his reach and influence. His mother would surely be disappointed in him. In his darkest hour, he wanted to feel something other than pain and despair. In a clear contradiction to his own declaration, he sought comfort in the arms of one of his long-lost lovers. He lay with her, and for the first time in years, he slept like a baby. A sharp pain awoke him from his slumber. It was a knife. His lover had managed to achieve what numerous assassins failed to do. His brutality had earned him a dagger to the back. 3. That was the number of babies that she had to watch die at the arms of their father, the king. He had no idea of the pain that she had endured. She twisted the knife, pulled it out, and watched the life drain out of his body. She had avenged her lost children. As he choked in his own blood, he wondered what his legacy would be. Would he be remembered as a king who created the largest empire the South had ever seen, or the heartless warlord who held it hostage? Who would defend his honor in his absence? He had no heir to speak of.